my passion and my life and my financial resources I have given and continue to give to the organization because I really believe that children in Ghana deserve to have access to books and educational resources that give them the opportunity to dream and imagine and create, and become who they imagine themselves to be.
Even when you're doing good in the world and you think you're doing the work that you love, the work that you intend to do, there's always times that people are not going to believe what you believe, and you have to keep going because that is your belief. That is what you are after. That is your passion. I'm so thrilled to have Sylvia Morrison with us today because she is doing exactly that. Sylvia, welcome, my dear.
Thank you so much, Rima. I am happy to be here.
I am
Yes.
grateful for your presence. I would love for you to launch us off with what are some of the biggest challenges you are going through right now as you're running your nonprofit, the work that you love? Because people sometimes will look at someone that is doing the work they love and they think that it's easy for them. Share with us some
Mm,
of the challenges that you face and why do you keep going?
mm, thank you. Usually I don't talk about the challenges I face. So, so you're asking about them, and I will tell you. One of the challenges is that this organization does amazing work in the world, and I am very proud of what we do. And many people admire the work of Links Across Borders. And what many people do not know is that it's kind of like a one-woman show. Um, because I've been running this organization. I founded the organization in 2009, and my passion and my life and my financial resources I have given and continue to give to the organization because I really believe that children in Ghana deserve to have access to books and educational resources that give them the opportunity to dream and imagine and create, and become who they imagine themselves to be. Um, but not everybody is willing, as I am, to throw caution to the wind and say, I really think this thing needs to be done. And so I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Um, and so I've been the primary funder of Links Across Borders for years. Yes, I've had help from individuals here and there, family and friends, and we've carried on the work. But really and truly, I'm the primary funder. And so it rests smack dab on this sweaty shoulder right here. And then and I was, I was okay with it, I think, for many years, feeling good that I'm able to do it, thinking always of how can I make some more money so that I can fund the next library project and fund the next educational initiative. And then when the pandemic hit, here I was, not able now to go out and do the work that I used to do to bring the money in, to generate the income that is needed. And that's when I really realized that we have a problem. So I kept going, but praying every day that change would come, because yes. So finance is a real challenge. And and running this as a one woman show is not sustainable. So that is a big challenge. Yes. Mhm.
Have you been able to find support outside of your own efforts? Because, like you said, you've been the one woman show, but you have so much impact in the various communities and countries that you actually touch. with links across borders. Have you been able to find support?
Yes, support is here and support is continuing to come now. In fact, I decided last year, you can see me sweating more and more because this light is very hot.
Turn it off. We don't care about the light. We care about you and your message. I'm serious. Turn it off. People want to hear you.
Let's see.
You're wonderful. Great.
You can see me.
Yes, I can see you. And the world is going to see you too.
The world is seeing me. Good. So, last year, I really had to look internally. And I asked myself the question, Sylvia, the work is important. You're passionate about it. There are many people who admire the work that you do. So why is it that it feels to you that it is a one-woman show? And why is it that it seemed hard to you to ask other people to participate? Because I know that really and truly, I haven't asked. It is my issue. I want to put the problem where it is supposed to land. It is my issue. I have for years, it feels good to be able to do this. It fills me up when I do it. And it's probably my ego that says, and we all have ego, and so I'm owning mine. It is my ego that says, don't ask someone, even when spirit says to me, reach out to such and such and ask. I'll hold myself back. Why? Because if I think that they're able to do it and they say no, or they're asking more questions than I think are necessary, I say to myself, why? Why do I allow myself to go through this? Just keep going. When in truth and in fact, if someone is going to support or invest in this work, they need to ask the questions. They want to know exactly what is happening as much as possible. And so, because I know the work, because it is inside of me as I go to sleep and as I wake up, I sometimes forget that not everybody knows what it is that is going on anyway, right? So it is important that I am prepared if I am going to invite others in to participate or open the door for others who are interested and are actually looking for opportunities to share their skills, their knowledge, their money with others. Open the door and be ready to speak with them when they ask questions. And so last year, around the middle of the year, in fact, in June, it started in June. I may have shared with you before that I had, yes, a near-death experience in June of last year. And when I came back from that, it was clear to me that what I was doing was not sustainable. And I had known that already, but I had been just brushing it away. And Spirit really brought it to me clearly that we want to show you, Sylvia Morrison, that the way you're operating is not sustainable. And also that, this dream, this work that has been given to me, it's God's work. And I've been called to give leadership to it. But it doesn't mean I've been called to carry it as a burden. No, there are too many people in the world for me to be carrying it as a burden. And there is too much money in the world for it to be a burden. And so I realized that it was me. I was preventing others from participating. And when I took on acknowledging the fact that this is me standing in the way of others participating. I just decided, I surrendered, and I said in my prayers, in my journal, in my meditation, in everywhere that I connect with spirit, I said, this is not my load to carry. The children of the world who are benefiting from Links Across Borders programs are not my children. We are all God's children. I am one who's been chosen to give leadership, not to carry it as a burden. And so I said, God, Spirit, Universe, this is your work. I'm willing to carry it. I will continue to give leadership to it if you will fund it. I
I
said,
think it's a,
you have other people who have the resources. I've done it with my resources for years and for decades. And it's now you call the people in.
that
And
is
so the
such
question,
incredible observation of you, Sylvia, honestly. Because there are so many wonderful human beings out in this world that are out to do something that is much bigger than themselves and their lives. And the truth is, no one is intended to do anything alone. We are intended to be all a planet of one and contribute to each other. So for you to even observe that your effort has to go beyond you, you have to get out of your own way,
yeah,
so that Links Across Borders can become what it needs to be. You've
yes,
laid the foundation. And I think our audience needs to know you're not originally from Ghana. You're not, you tell them where you come from so that they understand a little bit about it. And then we'll
yeah.
come back to the funding part.
Okay. So I was born in Jamaica, in the Caribbean island of Jamaica. And then in my 30s, I migrated from Jamaica to Canada. And I've lived in Canada for over 30 years. And then I moved to Ghana. But ever since I was a little girl growing up in Jamaica, somehow I just knew that I was an African child. I always felt that in my heart. You know, even when I would see on TV children, starving children in Africa, somehow I could see them as not starving. How could I make my imagination do that even in as I'm looking at the reality of what's on TV? I still somehow I could see children happy and dancing and looking like me, and I want to go play with them. And I always, that dream was in my heart that one day I would be in Africa. And so when the opportunity presented itself to me in 2006, of course, I was not a little girl at that point in time. I actually had teenage children. But that was the time when I felt the opening to make the move, and I did it. I started supporting children in Ghana. Yeah.
That's incredible, because there's so many wonderful individuals, again, that are looking to do something in the world, whether it's in their own background or somewhere else in the world, that always are fearful to take a step. So
Yes.
wonderful that you actually took that step. And like you said, it has not been a simple journey so far, but the impact is
The impact.
incredible. Tell
Amazing.
tell me a little bit about the impact, and then I still would like to go back and touch on what changed in June
Yes.
of last year and what you did. But tell me about some of the impact that you've seen, because sometimes we're doing work and we go, oh, nothing is happening, nobody is getting anything out of it, but we're not seeing it all.
That's
What
right.
have you seen?
I have. So the way Links Across Borders works is I believe in charity, but I believe more in empowerment. I I believe in giving someone a fish, and I also believe in teaching someone how to fish. Where from so for me it's the hybrid of I think it is important if we see someone who is hungry, that you don't walk over to him and say, let me teach you how to hunt or how to go plant, or let me give you a place to grow a garden, or let me teach you how to fish. She's hungry now. I believe in feeding her, so you hand her a fish that is already cooked, even that she doesn't have to cook it. She's hungry. So I believe you feed the hungry. And then after you have put some food in their belly, you say, let me show you how to fish. That's it for me. I just want to be clear, right? So the very first time that when I started coming to Ghana, I was already paying children's school fees for 3 years before I ever came because I had supported a children's party. A friend of mine, a Ghanaian friend of mine, was sending money home to her mother from Canada to Ghana to create a Christmas party for children in her village. And when she told me that, I thought, oh, that's a good idea. I could help. And so I gave her some money to add to what she was sending. I saw pictures of the children the following year, and I decided, based on the stories she told me about the children, that they weren't going to school, many of them. I thought I could do something about that. So I started paying school fees for 6 children. And 6 years later, no, 3 years later, rather, I decided to come and visit the children who I had been paying school fees for. Now, I want to fast forward to what are some of the changes we've seen. So even in my own life, I've seen change. Because when I started off paying children's school fees, that was just plain charity. I was just giving what was needed. School fees were needed, I was paying that. And then as time progressed, I started thinking to myself, I'm not going to be paying school fees for the rest of these children's lives. So I would want, well, I think Spirit told me, do something different, continue to support, but in a different way. And so the idea that came was create something that every child who is hungry for education, who is hungry to read, who wants to move forward and strive to do better and be better will have access. And so a library was the thing that came to my mind. When we started the library programs, immediately I could see change. The change that happened was now it wasn't just me supporting children, but I was working with communities, helping them to organize themselves to work on the project to make it happen. Links Across Borders never brought to the community all of what is required for a library to be there. No. We have conversations, consultation, planning meetings, community leadership involved. They are the ones who coordinate the work on the ground. Links Across Borders, yes, provides the funding, but there are people who are working on the project who are not being paid. They're bringing their skills to it. There are people who are carrying water, people who are donating stone or cement or sand, somebody who is the painter, painting is his job, but he's working 2 days a week on the project and he's not being paid for that, right? So folks started to realize, based on my conversations and working with them, that together we can create the change that we want to see. I'll give you a specific story. In 2017, for one of our library projects, I was working with this particular community. And I remember the first stakeholders meeting that we called with that community as we gathered around the table. And this time it wasn't the whole community yet. It was those who our opinion leaders for decision makers. We had folks representing the Board of Education, representing the political parties, representing the government, representing the traditional leaders around the table. We haven't called the larger community to the meeting yet. And at that meeting, I shared with folks who I am and where I come from. And I always make sure to emphasize that I was born and raised in Jamaica, and that my village that I was born and raised in looked like any Ghanaian village. So I am one of you. I'm home. And then I would talk about why I am here doing this, because I think it's important for them to know. And then I would notice that as I would share what the process is that I engage for each community that has a library, I would usually see the shock on faces when I say Links Across Borders does not just come in and give you a library. Because folks have come to the meeting really excited that an organization from Canada is here and is going to give us a library in our village. So now here I am saying something different, and they're like, what? And I would quickly, on the heels of that, say to them, the reason Links Across Borders is not bringing you all that it takes for a library to happen in your village is because I know that you have what it takes to help create the library that you want. And they start looking at each other. And then I would say something that is even more unbelievable to them. They know this woman is off her rockers because I say to them, everybody in this room has something to contribute. And they look at each other. And I'd say to them, even more specific, everybody in this room has money to contribute to this project. And then I would talk about the fact that we all have money. Some of us have a lot of money, like millions of dollars, or in the case of Ghana, millions of cedis, and some have a little, like 1 peso or 1 cedi. And I allow that to land. And I say, and maybe you have only 1 peso or 1 cedi and you don't want to give it, but you have something else that you can give. You have a skill. You have some time, you know somebody, you're connected to somebody. All of those things are resources that we can bring to the project. And during this particular conversation, after I was finished talking and kind of sharing what I believe and how I see that they can participate, I then asked each person around the table to speak whatever it is that's in their heart that they want to say in this moment. And folks shared, and different ones would say what they think they can give or who they think they can connect with. And I remember this man who was there as a representative for the Board of Education. When it was his turn to speak, his voice shook. Tears welled up in his eyes. And he said a lot, but what the piece I want to share here is, he said, since I was a little boy growing up in my village, I have dreamed in my heart to do something that my village would be proud of. I want my people to be proud of me. He said, I've grown up, I've gone through high school, I've done well in school, I've gone to university, I now have a very good job and I'm doing well. I still don't feel like I can do something for my village that they can be proud of me. He said, but listening to you today, I see how I can do something. He reached into his pocket and he said, so since everybody has money, I am going to give what I can right now. And I know that my village will be proud of me because I am part of this project, bringing this library to this community. The tears rolled down his cheeks and his chest rose and fell and rose, fell, and we waited for him to settle in. That is priceless. That is priceless. This is a man who is highly respected, yet he was still holding the dream from since he was a little boy for doing something in his village that his village would be proud of him. Of course, his village was already proud of him. He had done well in school against all odds. He had gone through high school to university. They're proud of him. But he wanted to do something that would leave a mark for others to benefit from. That's what he wanted. And this project gave him the opportunity to do that. I pointed that out instead of talking about a child that the change has happened for. There are many children. But I want folks to know that this work is not only about giving children books to read. It is about working together with other humans to help us ignite the dream that is in our hearts and activate it. See the step that we can take in a moment when it is in front of us, and not look at all the years that I may not have done something, or how long it's going to take before I can do it. No. What can you do today in the direction of your dream? That is the question that I am trying to work with people to answer through Links Across Borders and everything that I do. My intention and my interest is that we all, each one of us, reach into our hearts, touch the dream that is there, listen to what our intuition tells us that we can do to activate. You won't accomplish all of it today, and in fact, you will not finish the dream. No, it's a dream of the universe. It's God's dream for what needs to happen in the earth. Therefore, it is a dream for you to activate and do until you transition. And it will continue after you're gone. You just take the step that is in front of you right now. And you don't think about 10 years from now, if I can, how will I? No, don't. Just do, what can you do today? Maybe today you can only call somebody and tell them that you think we can do this together. Do that. Call them. They might tell you that they were actually wondering when they would have an opportunity to do such and such.
Sylvia, thank you for that perspective. Honestly, it's so gigantic that I hope people are getting it. You, in your own genuine leadership, you help them, the community, to open up their perspective and their hope to lead themselves with you alongside, for them to create these libraries and do the impact, but to reach within them. And that's so huge for people to understand that when you're out there building libraries, you're building communities.
Yes.
You're building communities.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I interrupted you, but I was so enthralled with it.
No, thank you. Because sometimes, you know, as I'm going and going, and somebody might miss it. And I really want folks to catch those pieces, because not all of this is for everyone, but there are pieces for individuals, and I really want folks to get it. Yes. I'll tell you about a child. Last year, why? I'm better now. Last year, or well, early last year or late the year before, gosh, 2023 is moving very fast, huh? So several months ago is correct. Several months ago, as I was, I said that finances have been a challenge. And for me, when I'm faced with challenges, I'm not the person who will say, oh, I give up. No, 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 no. I don't know how to give up. That's a thing for me. I don't know how to give up. So what I do when I'm faced with a challenge is I look at what are the opportunities? What is something else that what's another way I can accomplish this? So I was getting ready to launch another iteration of our arts program. We have an arts creators collab. And what I would do with that program each year is I would invite an artist in. I would like an artist who is actually in business for himself or herself. And I would invite them to come and spend a few days here in the village, in this village or any other village that I'm doing the program. And I would pay them, right? Not a full paycheck, but a stipend. And I would provide them transportation and accommodations and hosting for the time that they're with us. Since money is a challenge was for us, over the last couple of years, I thought I have to find a way to run this program without having to pay someone, because then that money could do something else, right? I'm looking at how could we stretch the few dollars that are here. So the idea came to ask if a high school student who is really good in art would be interested to volunteer with Links Across Borders. And I presented the idea to one of the teachers at one of the high schools. And when I mentioned that to him, he said, oh, sure, Mama, I think I could find you a student. I said, I want one who's really good and would be interested to share that with younger children than himself or herself. And he said, I have somebody in mind. He sent me a photograph of the person. A few days after our conversation, he sent me a photograph of the student that he had in mind. And when I saw the photograph, my tears came out before I could notice that they were coming. And I'm crying. Why? Because this student, I had this student about 5 years prior when this student was a little boy. He had gone through one of our arts program, which is the same program that I am now looking to run with this new set of younger students. This young boy was among the students who went through the program 5 years prior in his elementary school. And I remember that year, he was the student who won the award for the best artist of the group. Now, I run these programs, I move on. I don't know what happened to the students afterwards because I am not their teacher. I am not in a school where I see them every day. And they don't all live in the village where I am. And in fact, back then, I wasn't living in the village. I was coming each year, spending 2 months and returning, right? So I don't know what happened to them afterwards. But I remember their faces. And when his photograph came, I knew him. So I quickly sent a message to the teacher on WhatsApp and I said, yes, I would love to meet this student. Please bring him over. And so a few days later, the student and the teacher arrived at my office. And as soon as they walked in the door, the young boy had a big smile on his face, and I also had a big smile on my face. And his teacher looked at him and said, do you know her? And he said, yes, sir, I know her. And I said to him, tell your teacher how you know me. And he turned and said to him, when I was in, and he named his school, I was in her program and Mama gave me the Best Artist Award. You are welcome here. So the teacher was surprised because he didn't know that we knew each other, right? Now, here we are looking at this young person who went through the program, who was not in my world anymore, was the person who had now come back. Full circle. He is now top of his class in high school. And he is the person who is now coming back to mentor the little ones who didn't even know him because they were not in school at the time when he was in their school. So here he is, he's their senior, he can talk to them about their school, and he is going to be their art teacher. He facilitated the full program. I said to him, I'm not even going to interview you. All I want to know is, do you want to do this? He said, yes, Mama, I want to do this. I said, do you know what it is we're asking you to do? He said, yes, it's the same program that I did already. I said, good. I will be there with you just to help supervise and manage so that if children are getting out of order, I can help you to keep order so that you can teach art. I am not an artist. I can't tell you how to do that. And he then recruited a younger person, another student from the school who is a junior. So he's in third year, his final year, he's leaving. And he recruited someone who is second year so that even after he's gone, someone else will carry on. Right? Now, is that change? Is that making an impact? Absolutely. And there are many more stories that I could share. But I think those two can give whoever is listening an idea about the kind of change that we're creating in the world. You know,
I love these stories. I love them so much because you got to see the impact of what
yes,
you created.
yes,
Would this young man have gone into the arts and become who he was had your program not gone through their school and given
right.
him the opportunity?
Yeah, no, because in fact, he had been at that school for years and they didn't know that he was a good artist. They didn't know. They just knew that he was very quiet. In fact, he wasn't one of the smartest kids. You know, academically, he's not one of the smartest kids. He's getting good grades, but that's not the thing he really loves. Art is his thing. And so when he rose to the top of the arts program and, you know, we're giving awards for who showed up earliest every day, who did this, he's getting prizes, prizes, prizes. His teachers were surprised. And that boosted his confidence, his sense of self. He started to feel like, yes, I am seen in this school now. You know, and so because of that, he went on into high school. He wasn't ashamed now to say, art is the track I'm taking here. And he's doing very well in his high school because, in fact, Links Across Borders is honestly highly respected here because of the impact of our work. And so for him to say, I got an arts award from Links Across Borders is a big deal. So that fired him up to go into high school and say, art is what I'm taking. And I don't have to be ashamed of it. And his parents are also thinking, well, Links Across Borders thinks he's really an artist. Maybe he is an artist. So let's see. You know. So we make change in different ways at different levels. And it is just important that we are able to see that change doesn't just look one way. And just because our mission is to provide educational resources and reading, especially reading resources for children, doesn't mean that the change only happens in reading clubs or in the libraries or in reading classes or in education for that matter.
I
It
think that's
helps to,
crucial you're saying that, honestly, Sylvia, because people that love to contribute
yes.
sometimes don't fully see the impact that they've had by contributing, whether they contributed some money or a lot of money, or whether they contributed their time and effort or sent resources. That impact is going on for years and years, and now you got to see it. So that's the beautiful view for people to see within themselves when they step up to help, because there is a lot of this mentality that goes on in some people. Well, how do I know it's going to the right people? How do I know it's gonna impact? How do I know? And they start with this process in their mind versus simply stepping up and trusting that the impact is gonna happen as it needs to happen.
Yes.
It took you years to see the impact of what you did in one arts program several years ago. But look at the impact now that that kid is having on someone else and how it's altering his life. That's beautiful for people to see.
Yes. And so to answer the question you asked is, so the challenge is money. Is there money coming? I have to speak to it because in fact, as much as that's not the only story, we have stories all the time. There are stories all the time. We see the change every day. But I wanted to highlight those two stories. And so last year, because also just to touch on something you said earlier, you know, that it's important for folks to trust. And again, I'm bringing the responsibility back to myself. It's important for me to share the stories. It's one of the things I, over the years, haven't done much. I just keep going. I put my head down and I keep going, focusing on the work. And so a few months ago, I was joking, you know, and I said to a group of people that for years I took on God's work and decided that I would carry it because God wasn't carrying it efficiently enough. So I took it on and I made it a burden for myself that I will carry because I'm a strong woman and I am passionate and all that. And so now I realize that it is not my work, it is God's work. And so I've given it back to God. So because I felt like it was just my work, I don't have to tell people, right? Because it is my work. But if I see it as work that Spirit wants to do in the world, work that this is what life is asking for in this moment, then I would share with others and say, if you would like to participate, this is how you can participate. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is the change it's creating. Would you like to be part of it? I've not been doing that. I would, you know, now and then I would say, we want to do a Christmas party. Do you want to support? And some people, but there are folks who would like to know, okay, apart from the Christmas party, what else are you doing? And how can I know that my money is going to actually make an impact? The Christmas party is beautiful, but what's the impact? And I see the impact every day. I just hadn't been sharing it. So I'm taking that on. To all of you who have not been hearing the stories, sorry I wasn't telling. Now I'm telling, and I will continue to tell. So there is this person who, over the years, several years ago, I had been invited to his Rotary Club. And at that Rotary Club, you know, like I'm speaking here, I just speak from my heart. I don't have to look at any script to talk because I live this every day. And I don't need to, I can just show pictures and talk for a week, month, show pictures. And so I shared at the Rotary Club and to the audience that was there. And several of them were interested, you know, and of course the Rotary was, most people in the room were business people. And I remember that this particular gentleman, after that meeting, he spoke with me about how touched he was and he is interested to learn more. A few weeks later, I was preparing at the time to ship some things off to Ghana. Each year I would ship the supplies down. And he reached out to me and he asked, when are you shipping? And I told him. And he showed up on a particular day that we agreed on, and he brought some items that he said he and his family wanted to give. And they were, shoes and other supplies, a bag of things that he figured children could benefit from. They had gone shopping and bought these things to give to us. And that was wonderful. And I remember that as we were talking, and I showed him the warehouse that I was storing the books and the supplies in, I just felt like I should show him so that sometimes he didn't ask, but something in my heart said, show him. And he was amazed when he saw the size of the room and the hundreds of boxes that were there. And after we walked away from that storage container, he said to me, I'm really impressed by what you're doing. Who else is here? I was the only one in the storage container fixing the boxes and stuff at that time. And so he said, who else? And I said, from time to time, I'll ask friends to come and help me pack and label and so on, but it is my work. I have to keep going. And I remember he gave me a check at that time for $500. And that was years ago. And since that, every now and then, he would, if he sees me make a plea about something, for example, a Christmas party, or I'm saying, I'm looking for, would you like to participate in our We Shine program? And I'll talk about what happens in the We Shine program. He would reach out and he would send me some money. And this last year, during the pandemic, I just felt like I don't want to ask anybody for anything because people are going through such a hard time. And for me, being here in this village, honestly, I wasn't feeling the effects of the pandemic, except that I couldn't go travel the world and do the work that I usually consulting to make money. I was noticing that, but I wasn't watching the news, so I wasn't seeing all of what's happening. But I knew people were suffering. I knew that, I imagined the mental illness that was on folks. And so I just thought, no, I won't. I'll just carry on. And after this happened with the young boy showing up to do the arts program, I thought, this is something I'm going to share with folks. I just felt, write this story and share it with whomever. Just share it with people on your list and say, and I titled it A Good News Story. And I said in my email to those who I sent it to, I say, everybody needs to hear some good news. And this is good news. We have a full circle moment. And I sent it out. And some people responded, others didn't, just to say, thank you, this is beautiful story, thank you for sharing it, and so on. I didn't send it out asking for anything. I really wanted folks to just take it in, warm their heart, even for 1 minute. And months later, I woke up one morning and after my meditation, Spirit said, you didn't hear a response from this person. Did he get the email or didn't he? And I thought, oh my goodness. I checked my email and I saw I had sent it. It went. But I did this. I sent it again. And I said, I sent this to you a few weeks ago. And I don't know if you saw it or not. And I know how with the busyness of our lives, an email could fall to the bottom of the pile. I am bringing it back to the top of the pile because you deserve to have a good news story. So I want you to read it. And he responded immediately. And he said, Sylvia, I saw it and I remember feeling good about this and intended to write to you. And I didn't. So thank you for resending it. And then he carried on in his message to say, I have been through this pandemic thinking of how I want to make a difference in the world. And he talked about his money and his life. And he said, Links Across Borders is an organization that has been close to my heart. And I've made a list of projects that I want to invest in. And Links Across Borders is on my list. I had been writing in my journal and meditating and visualizing and saying, I am ready to welcome partnerships and collaborators. I will not carry this alone any longer. And so when I read that in his email, I knew that this was one of the answers to what I'm asking. And so we've had many conversations since that email. And this particular person has decided that he will make a large donation. He's made the donation for this year already, for the next 4 years, because he wants to see Links Across Borders expand in the way that I want it to expand, and he wants to support this. So this is one person who has made a commitment that has drastically changed how I can move forward. Because before it was hard for me to plan far ahead because I don't know for sure, right? If you don't have the budget to help you plan ahead, then you do what you can in the moment, which is how I am. I do what I can in the moment. So I look at what I have and I say, okay, we can do this. We're going to do this. We're not going to say we can't do this because what if we can't repeat it? No, we're doing it now. And so now so right now, because of that donation, I'm beginning to put a team in place. I'm beginning to have some long-term projections and plans that I would only have in my heart and waiting for the moment to come when I implement it. And that's how I've done over the years. And that's how Links has grown. And what this donation also allows me to do, which is what I feel my heart saying to do, which is why I packed up and moved here, is I can now train folks on the ground to give leadership to the work on the ground. And I can be more out there bringing in partnerships, sharing with folks about the work, the impact of the work, the change that it is creating, and provide opportunities for other people to participate. Inspire folks to touch the dream that is in their own hearts so that they can create the change that they want to see. It doesn't have to be change with Links Across Borders. It's the opportunity to inspire them to look at what is the dream in my heart that I want to act on, but I've been afraid because I don't see the long term. I don't see how I'm going to carry it out. I don't see the next step after this first step. I want to say to folks, take the first step. And I want to be able to tell them how I have taken the first step and then the second step shows up. And after I take the second step, not knowing the third step, it shows up. And honestly, for the most part, throughout my journey, I find that I usually only know probably one step ahead. I just keep going. I just know one step. I make the step and then I look around to see, okay, where is the next step? And it appears and I take it. And I want to teach folks how to do that, but I can't get to spend time doing that if I have to keep my head in the trenches, making sure that the library programs are running, the We Shine programs are running. We are now building young authors in Ghana. I want to talk about that before we get off this call.
That was going to be my next question about your books that you're writing. So great.
Right. So I've been taking one step after the other, not knowing what the next step is going to be, but knowing that this work is work that has been given to me by Spirit to do. And if the work has been laid on my heart to do, this dream to see children in Ghana have access to books and access to educational resources that provides them opportunities to dream, to imagine, and create, to see themselves as being worthy as any other child, to see themselves as being deserving as any other child, to create and be who they dream that they can be. That's what this is about. And in the process of doing that, we're changing the lives of adults, we're changing the lives of communities, we're changing the lives of teachers, we're changing the mindset of many, many people. I want to be able to do this now on a broader scale while giving opportunities to folks on the ground to lead this work because they have what it takes. It's just that they don't think that they do because it looks like only I can do it. And this is my opportunity to mentor folks and let it go in their hands for them to take it while I am bringing more to it so that it will expand. The other thing is that I am human. I will expire. And when I expire, this work has to go on. So I need to do all of what I can do right now to make it sustainable and for it to have legs, enough legs to stand on, enough branches to grow, and enough people to be in it. That's what I want.
You have said two key pieces that a lot of individuals that care, that aren't moving forward, that could learn from you. Number one is take a step. Take a step. You're not going to know what the next step is, or you might think what the next step is, but it may not be. But take
That's
a step
right.
and keep moving forward. And as soon as you're able,
Yes.
get a team. It's a life. Life is a team sport. It's not an individual sport. And you're in that now. And that's how this work will continue beyond you or anyone else that touches this project, so that we can see the impact on the kids and on the communities. And it takes someone like you that cares to pull in others that are more than willing to contribute in whatever way that they can, if they can see the results and the dream, really the dream of what is happening. That's how this gentleman, or that's how this person got involved. If it's a gentleman or a female, that's how they got involved, because you're sharing. So tell me about the books that are going to be written.
Yes. So, for years, I love the reading clubs. I love working with the kids and just see them building relationships with books. And I don't have a specific format to the reading clubs because I don't want it to be so formal that they feel intimidated by books. So in many of our sessions, I would, with the ones that are in this village that I work with on a regular basis, I've been saying to them, we work with the books, we talk about how a book comes together, the author, the illustrator, the publisher. We look at where was it published and when, if it is written in the book. We talk about those things. We talk about the fact that the illustrator is a person who is an artist who loves to draw and draws well. That the author is somebody who loves to write, who has stories inside of them and they want to tell the story and they choose to put it in a book. And that the publisher has to bring together all of these various pieces and then get the book out to the public. And then I've taken it a step further and I've been saying to them, and each one of you can be an author, you could be an illustrator, you could be a publisher. Like, we in this room could write and publish books. been saying it. I'm trying to plant this seed. Over the years, I've been saying it. And then last year, I started saying to them that they should write stories. So they've been writing stories, and sometimes I would read their story in our club when the club meets. So sometimes I might fix up the story a bit. I do some edits, and make it a little bit nicer. So the kid is hearing their story. They can feel the plot. That is my story, but they're wondering, I didn't say it like that. So is it my story? They don't know for sure, but they're listening, and I would disguise the sheet of paper that they wrote their story on. I would disguise it in an actual book, as if I'm reading from the book. so they're listening to it and they're thinking, I know that story. I can see it on their face. I know that story. I wrote one like that, but I don't know. She's reading. And then I would surprise them with, okay, so who is the author? Who do you think the author of this story is? And I would say the author is in the room. And they would be looking at each other until the author would sheepishly raise their hand like, I think it's me. And so one day, one of the kids asked me, Mama, they call me Mama because I'm installed Queen Mother here in this village. And so the title is Mama Agbalenyo the First. So they call me Mama. So one of the kids asked me, Mama, so have you written a book? And
from the mouth of babes.
because I've been telling them, we can be authors. All of you can be authors. And so she just asked, like, so did you write a book, Mama? And yes, I've written a book, but it's not a book that they would be reading. It's an adult book. And at the time, actually, I don't even have a copy of it here with me. I didn't have a copy here. So I said, yes, I've written a book. They said, oh, can we read it? And I said, it's not a children's book. And I said, but I will write a children's book, and we will write children's books. And so I started, even as I was saying it, I'm thinking, it should be easy to write children's book. I've been an educator all my life. I can write a children's book. So when I was saying it, I felt very confident that I could do it, actually. So I started thinking about writing a children's book, and I'm going to teach them to write children's books. And then as I would talk to people who I know who have either written a children's book or are accompanying or is alongside somebody, they're telling me, oh, yes, you could do such and such. They would send me a link to something. And people don't seem to have the time to tell me how to write a children's book. Well, it's not because they don't want to. It really is because it takes a lot more than just a 10-minute conversation. There's so much more to it, to the process, than I thought. I thought you just put some words, you just think of a story, put some words down. I was actually thinking I'm even going to have the children just draw some pictures and we just print, and that's a book. No, that's not the way it's done. So what I did was I realized I needed a mentor. So I hired a mentor. And since August of last year, I have been in this publisher's mastermind writing a children's book. Well, the manuscript has been finished long ago because I could write a good story fast. So I wrote this story, I sent off the manuscript to the editor. We got that back, and it was beautiful. And then I had to find an illustrator. We got that. That even stretched me. I had to do a GoFundMe to raise funds for the illustration. That was a stretch because I don't like asking for money, but I did. We got it. And so the book is complete. It will be published in May, and we're launching June 1st on Amazon. And I would really, really love to have hundreds of copies sent to us here in Ghana. So how can people participate in this? I'm looking for helpers now. I'm looking for folks who are interested to, who are willing to buy on June 1st, to just order so many copies on Amazon that Amazon doesn't know what just hit them. I want Grace's Lunch is the title of the book. I want Grace's Lunch to be flying out of Amazon as if there's a storm and it has to leave. Yes? And why is it that I want this book to sell so much? It's not only because I want the money to come in so that we can fund our programs, but this book is the first of a series of books that we're going to write. And I've decided that with me being able to bring this book in and say to the children, remember last year I said I would write the first one for you? Here it is. I want them to have it to read. And then I want to be able to teach them how to write and have them become published authors. I mean, it lights me up when I think that children from this village and neighboring villages around within the next year will be published authors. And it will happen because I have said it. And I keep my word. Listen, one of the young girls recently, as she was leaving, she had to go to, she was leaving junior high and she was going off to senior high school. She's been in the reading club now for years since she was in elementary. And she is among the students who were in the group that I kept saying to them, you can be authors, you can write stories, and they've been writing stories. And so the day before she left, because she was going to be living at the high school, she'd be boarding there. So she only comes back at the end of each semester. And she thought that, well, maybe we're going to be publishing the book before she comes back, because like me, she thinks it's that easy to write the book and publish it. I'm glad she feels that way because that is how I told her. We can write and publish. So she's like, so she wrote her story. Yes. She showed up at my door, knocked the door. I opened it and there she was. She said, hi, Mama. I've come to say goodbye. Okay. I said, where are you going? She said, I'm leaving for school tomorrow. I said, oh, good. We sat down and we talked for a bit and I gave her some things to take to school. And then she said, but I wanted to give you this. She reached into her pocket. She pulled out a piece of paper, nicely folded. She handed it to me. So I thought, I like love letters, so I thought it was a letter. She written a love letter for Mama because she's leaving. So I said to her, should I read it now or should I read it after you leave? And she said, no, you can read it now. So I opened it and I started to read. But because my mind, I thought it was a letter, it didn't look like a letter to me, so I'm confused, I'm reading. I said, what is this? I asked her, what is this? She says, it's my story. I said, oh, your story. And she said, but you said we are going to publish a book. I said to her, I forgot. Thank you so much for reminding me and for bringing your story. You see, they believe. 5 years ago, she wouldn't have believed that. We're asking about impact. That's a total mind shift where she now believes that she can write and have a book published, to the point where she writes the story and brings it because she will be gone for 3 months. And she thinks the book will be published within the 3 months she's away. That is a mindset mindset shift that you cannot predict. You can't predict when it will happen. You just keep doing the work and making a difference, even when you don't see it right away. Believe that it is happening, because it is happening. Yeah. You know,
So,
water, little drips of water on a mighty rock can create a hole through it, could cut it even. It just keeps dripping in the same spot continuously. And that's what I do with these children. I continue to say the same thing. I continue even when it doesn't look like anything is happening, because I know it is happening. I believe it to be happening, but I see it. It shows up. Yeah.
Sylvia, what would you like to happen next besides being bestseller as soon as that book launches and people see it and purchase it? What would you like to happen right now for Links Across Border to continue to expand?
What I would like right now for Links Across, we need money. We would like to have money, and we would like to have people who have skills and are willing to support us with their skills as well. You know, there are many people who are authors. There are many people who are poets, and they enjoy doing that. So reach out to me and say, I would love to work with children in Ghana, helping them to write. Because as much as I'm saying, I now have the skills and the knowledge to teach them how to write, I would love if some other folks who have been writing for years and who enjoy writing would say, I'd like to spend a few weeks, or even we can do it on Zoom, where you could be meeting with kids on Zoom and we are telling stories. They're practicing with you, you who are listening, who are an author, or you're a poet, you're a writer, you're an illustrator. I'm talking to you. You're an artist. I'm talking to you. And you who have some money, who you can donate some. Doesn't have to be a lot. If
Or
you
it
give
can be a
$10,
lot.
or it can be a lot. I am ready to take a lot, and I am willing to take a little, because if I get a lot of a little, it becomes a lot, right? So your $10 or your 10,000 or your 100,000 or $1 million, I know exactly what to do with it. This is the thing now. I'm not guessing what to do with it, because I've been doing for years. And what is not being done is what we are not able to afford to do. The ideas are endless what to do with money. So I'd love for people to donate. Something really that I think is also really interesting that we're doing right now that people could think of is that we've launched the Sister School Initiative, where schools in North America and in Europe and in other parts of the world, high schools, might want to become a sister school to a school here in Ghana. So if you're a teacher or you're a parent, you're connected to a school, and you think, I would like our students, my child, my children, my school to be part of this, reach out to me at Links Across Borders, send me a line, and we can start the conversation about becoming a sister school partner. So there are many ways to participate. Send us money or write to me. Go to linksacrossborders.org, and our donation page is there. You click the link. It will ask you to put the money that you want. You do it with your credit card, and it's safe. It goes into the account. We like it that way. We say thank you, thank you, thank you for your hard-earned cash and your skills and talent. We want that. And if you would like to visit Ghana and help out in a school, I can put you there. Just reach out to me.
Sylvia, thank you for opening up the opportunity to participate, not only physically, but if someone has the skill, and would like to
Yes.
teach a class or do something, they can do it from the comfort of their own home, their own town, wherever they are. And it's neat that you are aligning with other schools, because that's the best part about today's world, is that opportunity has been opened up because of the internet to be able
Yes.
to change other students' lives right from
Mhm.
where you are. So thank you for
Yes.
opening up that opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. And we have some students in Canada already who have started. This past February, I had the opportunity to share in many schools and organizations. And there's many students now who are saying we want to do this, and their schools. So there are two schools right now where students are doing. One is doing a book drive, another is doing a fundraiser because they say we want to participate in this, right? And there's one organization, new organization, who I never didn't know them before, and they heard about us and they said we want to be part of what you're doing. So there are folks who are coming on board now. I've said that this year is a miracle year. I've been planting the seeds during the pandemic, just with my head down and doing the work and handing it back to spirit and saying, universe, this is your work. Call the people in. I'm ready to open my arms and my heart and the stories to them, and folks are coming, and I am grateful for that. So I
I
want to welcome others.
love that organizations are stepping up, because I have a firm belief that a lot of organizations and nonprofits, by
Yes,
teaming up, we can
yes,
truly change the
yeah.
world the way that we see it, the way that we would like it, because
Mhm.
each one of you is doing something that is unique, but by connecting, it
Mhm.
moves that impact so much further for
Yes.
everyone involved. So thank you for doing this, Sylvia. I know we could talk for hours
I
about a
know.
lot of wonderful things, for people to know that we are friends off of line too, so that
Yes.
we can talk about a lot of stuff. We'll come back around in a few months and let
Yes.
people see some of the progress, some of the things. Thanks for sharing the stories. And yes, please post, and let the kids even post some of the things
Yes.
that are going on, so that individuals see the impact that happens. They
Yes.
see the change that's occurring within the kids throughout every project. Thank you
Yes.
so much for being with us. For our listeners,
Yes.
we love you. Remember, your attitude determines your altitude. Sylvia is a great example of that. Her attitude is making the difference in how she's doing it. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the next podcast. Thanks, Sylvia. Love you.
Thank you so